Hey guys, and welcome to another video. My name is Mohit, and I make tutorials with respect to Angular, Python, Django, Unicorn, Nginx, all of these different technologies. In the previous two videos, I showed you guys how you can deploy your Django project to EC2 using Nginx, Unicorn. In this video, I would like to take it up one step. Everything that we did in the previous video, we will be doing it again, but we will be adding a new element to it, which is called Docker. Uh, for anyone who has any sort of experience when it comes to software engineering, they must have heard the term at least Docker. So what Docker does is that it containerizes an application. It basically, so let's say if you have multiple services running, you have a DB service, database service, you have your main application, you have a background service, you have these multiple services running, and this is something Docker can help you do. One way of doing it is that you set it up manually. So like let's say I have an EC2 instance. What I can do is I can create different screens, and I can have my Celery running on one screen, my Django running on another screen, Redis running somewhere else, Postgres running somewhere else. I can set that up manually. The only problem with that is that I will have to manage all of those containers manually by going to different screens on my Linux Ubuntu and then doing the necessary changes, whichever those changes are. Another way of handling this is to use Docker. So what Docker does is that we just need to find a Docker file, a Docker compose file as well. Just need to add that file to a project, send that Docker compose file and Docker file with the project to EC2, set up Docker, and all those services will be set up for us, and we won't have to do the manual and heavy lifting of setting up those services ourselves. All of that will be taken care of with Docker. So that is just one application of Docker. If someone clones a project on their machine, they won't have to worry about setting up Redis or setting up Postgres if they don't have it, or setting up Celery, or all of those things which they need to set up. They can just install Docker and just do docker-compose up, build, and the entire project will be up and running for them. So if someone were to ask me why Docker, I just think it helps manage a project with multiple services very easily. You can easily manage such a huge project with so many multiple services. So that is why, at least for me, is one of the reasons why I really like implementing Docker in my Django project. So that is enough for the theory. This is the same project which we deployed to EC2 and even ran it with Nginx, Unicorn, RDS. I will be doing the same thing but with Docker. So in this part of the video, I will first show you guys how you can run Docker. You can run this project locally using Docker. So before I do that, I would like to, and obviously I'm on macOS, so if anyone of you is on Windows, Linux, they will have to install Docker and set it up. I've already installed Docker on my machine, so I mean at least the Docker framework has been installed and running on my macOS, and that is something that you will need. You guys will need this. So once that is out of the way, and do let me know in the comments if you guys have trouble installing Docker on your machines. Please feel free to do that. Once that is out of the way, there are just two things which you guys need. One is setting up a Docker file, and the other one is a docker-compose.yaml file. And both of these files should be in the root directory of your project. So first things first, I will first set up my Docker. I will first set up my Docker main Docker file. The thing is that Docker comes with a concept called containers and images. Without going to theory too much, we have multiple images: an image for Postgres service, an image for Redis, an image for Python, and these images can be used inside of your local machine without you having to worry about setting them up. So I will do this one by one. First line over here is from Python 3.9 -Alpine 3.13. So this is what I'm telling is that I will be using the Python 3.9 image. So in short, Python 3.9 is what will be used inside of my application. The other line that goes over here, which is not so important, is just telling Docker who will be the maintainer. In that case, it will be me. If I need to define an env variable, I can do that. in our previous projects, we had .ini file set up, and I will also be showing you guys, if you want to set up a .env, you can still use it. But if you want to specifically define your environment variables inside of your Docker, this is one way of doing it. You just type in capital ENV and just type the variable name with its value, with obviously space in between. I defined this env. I won't be using it, but I've just done it for the sake of for the sake of this tutorial. The other thing which I would like to do is, obviously, this entire project is on my local machine, and Docker is going to be a separate. Docker will set up these containers or these services separately. What I want to do is, I want to copy everything from my ./backend. So ./backend is this one right here. This is empty. I don't know why I have. So ./backend basically means this entire backend directory, which pretty much contains my entire project. I want to copy it and I want to paste it in a new directory inside of my Docker container by the name of backend as well. I also want to, and I also already have this command written, so I'll just copy it so we get to the point. I will also copy my ./requirement.txt, which is in the same directory as my Docker file, and I will paste it inside of the newly created backend directory in a new file, which is requirements.txt. So basically, I'm copying my requirement.txt from my local machine inside of my Docker container. What will be the working directory? The working directory will be /backend. That has been defined. So basically, where will the commands be? In short, right now the working directory is emi back, but in our case it will be /backend. I would also like to expose port 8000. I can do that in my Docker -compose, but I think for now it's not needed. And I will need these three commands as well. We just paste them in. The first command is pretty straightforward. It will create a virtual environment. The second command will activate the virtual environment, and the third command will install the requirement.txt. That is what they will do. Now the thing is that I could have added them in one single line, but just to get the point across, I was like, you know, the syntax is entirely up to you, whatever works for you. I just find this syntax a bit more easy to relate with, so I have three different run commands. Now with that out of the way, we have set up our Docker file. The other thing which we will be setting up is the docker-compose file. So inside of this file, I will be defining the settings for my different services. In this particular video, we will have only two services: the main app service, which will be running our Django application using manager.py run server, doing the migration and everything, and the other service is the Postgres DB service, basically the container or the service which will be taking care of the database. Now I already have the code written for this, but it's just better if so let's just copy this one by one. Version 3.9, I'm not having the Python version over here, it's just syntax for Docker, but it doesn't have any significance. You can have it 3.10, 3.20, it's entirely up to you. Then I will define my services like this. And the first service which I would like to define is the app, or the main Django application. You can name it whatever you like, I just name it app. Now, inside of this app service, I would like to first define my environment variable file. I would like to tell Docker that there's going to be an environment variable file, and you will have to pick all the environment variables from that file. What I will do is, I will call it environment file, and it will be /.env. .env because it's in the same directory as my Docker compose file. With that out of the way, the other thing which I would like to define is, and I'm just looking at the code, because I don't remember it from the top of my head. I'm aware of the concept of that, but I don't have this memorized. It's completely fine if you guys don't have it memorized as well. You're not here to memorize code, you just need to understand the concept. The other thing which I would like to define over here is the build command. So what the build command is going to tell Docker is that when you're going to build this particular app service, you have to take into account this entire directory over here. Everything inside of this backend you have to take into account. No major significance of this one as well, but this next command is pretty straightforward. That is very much needed, and that is 8000. Now I did expose port 8000. Oh, I did not actually. Yeah, I did not. I could have either exposed port 8000 in my Docker file, or I can do it over here. So what this is telling is that link port 8000 of my local machine with the port 8000 of my Docker container. So basically, if anyone is trying to access port 8000 on the local machine, it will be linked to the port 8000 of Docker. So basically, it's making a connection, right? It's making a connection. It's linking them together, to put it in simple terms. The other piece of code is volumes, and it's very similar to what we defined in the copy command in the Docker file. What it is telling is that this /backend directory will be linked to the /backend directory that we created in the Docker file, and all it does is that it will maintain or persist the code or the changes. If any change is made in the local machine, it will be picked up by the Docker container as well. That is all what this command is doing. So any change that you make over here, when you do Control S, if you do docker -compose up -build, you're building a container again, those changes will be picked up because of this piece of code over here, the volumes. Now the other one is command. So basically, what command will we need in order to get this service up and running? And it's this command. First, I would like to run manage.py migrate, run all the migrations, and then after that is complete, I would like to run server on port 8000. And then I would like to define my environment only to, oops, no, I didn't copy the complete code. Let me just copy it over here. Yep, there it is. So do ignore this for a minute. I will get back to this in a second. What is DB host? But database name, database user, and database password. As you guys can see, I have $postgres_. So $postgres_user. All of these are environment variables that have been defined by .env, which is over here. Postgres DB, Postgres user, Postgres password. And to access these .env variables, I'm using the $sign along with the variable name. But in order to get this running, you have to. It's imperative that you define the env_file variable over here. It's very, very important. Otherwise, these environment variables will not be found, and an error will be thrown. Obviously, the DB port 5432 and 5432 will be where the Postgres service will be running. And the last and most important line of code is this, which I'll be defining in a second, which is depends on. So what depends on tell Docker is that this DB service, which I'll be creating in a second, needs to be started and running before this app service can run. So DB will be initialized first, and after it has been successfully initialized, will this app service start, and all these commands and everything will be set up and run. So with that out of the way, I will now move to setting up my DB service, and I won't be, because most of the things are pretty much being repeated, so I will just copy and paste this over here like this, and just paste this DB outside. Let me just make sure that it's correct, indentation is correct. But the DB service, environment file, same thing, just to pick up the environment variables. This image is to tell Docker that it will be a Postgres image, which is available on Docker website, which will be used to set up Postgres. So basically, when you install Postgres, there are a lot of other things which have to be installed in order to make sure that Postgres runs successfully. It's not just a simple installation. There are a lot of variables, pg, config. I've installed Postgres locally, so I know my fair share of problems which I've run into. In order to avoid those problems and just run Postgres with one single command, this is what you need, image. So this image will pretty much take care of all of the dependencies of Postgres and install Postgres inside of your DB container over here. Volumes. So what volumes does is, I've already gone through this in the app service, but what volumes over here is doing is that I have defined a dev db data volume, and I'm linking it to the data folder inside of my db container. So in short, let's say if this service or this db service were to be deleted, let's say if it's deleted, if the container is stopped, removed, the data should still persist inside of my db, and it will be persisted through this line. So any code or any data that gets saved over here, it will be automatically cloned to dev-db-data as well. So it will keep these two folders in sync at all times. So if I were to, like, let's say, delete this container altogether, even though the Postgres service will be stopped and removed, the data will still persist. So if I were to recreate this container again, I will still have access to my old data. So this is what volume is doing over here. Environment is just defining the environment variables, and these are just the three environment variables which you need in order to run Postgres on your Docker container. DB user password. Ports, I'm just exposing port 5432 on my local machine and linking it with the port 5432 of my Docker container. So if anyone were to access the port 5432 on my local machine, they will have access to my Docker container as well, the DB instances of my Docker container, provided they have the correct DB user, DB name, and DB password. Now, so far so good, looks pretty much okay. What we need to do now is just to start it up and let's see if it runs or throws an error. So the command is pretty simple. Just do docker-compose up --build, and let's see what it does. So it's running all the commands. It's creating a v, solving the requirement to txt. Okay, so far so good. Let me just okay, I'll be back in a second once this installation is complete. Oh no, wait, let's just wait it out. I want you guys to see the logs, even if let's say we run into some errors or not. It created the two image containers, db1 and app1. So yeah, looks good because the fact that I had this Docker file, because I ran this Docker file initially and I had the volume. So yeah, I had this container running before, so that's why it did not apply any migrations. But I want to do something actually. Let me just do controls to break this up. If I do docker ps, I can see two containers. Let me just bring the containers down. Docker-compose down. So it has removed. Yep, it has removed the containers. I'm removing all the old containers which I had initially run. I want to start this from scratch. So docker-compose down just stops and removes the containers altogether. But I don't know whether it removed the volume or not. Okay, I think we ran into an issue. Did we? Yep, we did. We ran into an issue with it's saying it cannot connect to server at DB instance port. Okay, it was not able to successfully. Yeah, so our app service has trouble connecting with our database. Why would that be? Let's possibly investigate if we can. .env has been defined. It's possible. Docker ps. Do we have any 5432 running? No. Docker-compose down. Docker-compose up -build. Let me try this again. If I don't, I will just possibly try to debug this. Okay, I don't know why that issue came before, but just stopping the container again, restarting it, somehow managed to get it running. Maybe it was a caching issue, I don't know, I was not aware, but something to possibly investigate. I will look into this maybe later on. But let's see what we get when we go to port 000. And splendid. Let me just go to admin. I can see my login Django admin site. But a question arises that how can I create a super user? Very good question, right? I already have my Docker. I have my Docker services running, but where do I access the terminal to execute the create super user command? Very good question, actually. Let's just do something. Docker PS, can you see the container? So this is the container over here. Docker PS just lists all the containers that are running inside the directory. So let me just see which one is mine. There it is. That's my container right there. That's the container ID. Images, back app. Good. To run any command inside of container, basically what I want to do is I want to access this container, the main app container, and run my create user command. What I can do is docker exec minus it container id, and just do python 3 manage.py create super user. Let's see what it does. I hope okay. Asking for an email. Done. 1234 1234. Yes, and super user created successfully. Where is my? Let me just open this up. No DJ admin, only admin. 1234. Splendid. We have accessed our Django admin panel. We can see the logs as well. Awesome. Splendid. So yeah, very and a highly brief overview of how to set up your Django application with Docker. This was nothing, to be very honest with you guys. There's a lot that you can do with Docker. I am just a Docker intermediate, or I would say beginner to intermediate user. I'm not an expert when it comes to Docker, but I do know the significance of Docker. I've realized why it is needed, why it can really help you speed up your development. You don't need to manage all the dependencies for Redis, Postgres, Celery, all these other services. You can just create a service inside of your Docker Compose and just define the image, this image over here. That is all you need, and all the dependencies will be taken care for you. You don't need to set it up locally. It will be taken care for you over here. So in the next video, what I'll do is I will take this project, this Docker project that I ran locally, and deploy it to EC2. So everything that we did on EC2 manually will be done using Docker. And in the third part of the series, what I'll try to do is I'll try to set up another service which will be Celery to run background processes in the background. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give me a like. For that helps me out a lot. Share this content with your friends and family. For that gives me the motivation to create more and more content. I am just starting out. I'm trying to give back and trying to share my experience with respect to the software engineering space, and any sort of help, any sort of, by help I mean is that I need like money or anything, but it would be quite the favor to at least get this content shared if it's good, and secondly, critical feedback from you guys. If there's something I can improve, just let me know, because otherwise I won't know what mistake I'm making. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video if you've reached this video so far. And yeah, till we meet again in the next video. Thank you.